Hello everyone. Welcome to yet another session on soft skills and interpersonal communication with me, Waheeda, Assistant Professor at the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal, Hyderabad. In today's session, we are going to discuss about different types of listeners. We discussed about what is listening, how we interpret things, how we need to be active listeners to interpret and to receive the information. But if we are not doing it in the right manner, we taught you about the techniques as to how to listen effectively. It is believed by many theorists that if you are asked to learn any one skill, it should be listening. You need to opt for that skill which will teach you all the skills one by one. It is very essential for your progress, for your success in your professional as well as your personal life. If you are a good listener, you would avoid many misunderstandings. Many errors can be eradicated, and lot of resources can be saved. Lot of time and energy of the people can be saved if you become a good listener. If listening is done in the proper manner, all these misunderstandings can be cured. So we are going to we are going to deal with the different types of listeners. So the most basic of all human needs is the need to understand and to be understood. The best way to understand people is to listen to them, says Ralph G. Nichols. And one of the most valuable things we can do to heal one another is to listen to each other's stories, says Rebecca Falls. And the art of a conversation lies in listening, says Malcolm Forbes. With this, we understand that listening to each other is pivotal, or it is a process of listening and which will carry out on our conversation. The most important of all LSRW skills. It is the process. What are we doing when we are listening? Listening is the process of receiving, interpreting, and making sense of auditory stimuli, particularly the spoken words, the words which we use our vocal cords to explain certain things. When we are the senders, the others' responsibility is to listen by receiving the information, the message that we want to express to others, maybe our emotions, our feelings, our knowledge, and that has to be interpreted, which will by making sense of the auditory stimuli or the stimulus, particularly from the spoken words. When we are making use of the language, when we are uttering those words, one has to understand in by receiving it. It not only involves hearing the words but also actively engaging and comprehending the message being communicated. It is not just we are sitting and we are unfocused, we are not focused, and we are not taking any initiative to listen, but there should be some kind of initiation from the person who is listening to understand, to comprehend what is being, understand the message that is being communicated. Then we have this effective listening requires focused attention. If you want to listen what is being told, we want to retain it in our long-term memory. One thing that we have to do is we have to focus our attention. If our attention is divided, we are divided in attention, and our minds are not particularly fixed on to what is being told. When we are wandering here and our thoughts are wandering, we are visiting some other places in our thought and coming back again to listen to that, we might miss out on very important information. And it also involves a lot of feedback to the speaker, because once the the speaker has initiated the conversation with some kind of message that has been decoded and encoded in his or her mind. The message is sent through through a channel or the medium through which the information has to reach to the audience, or whether it is a one-to-one talk, addressing a large gathering, or addressing a small gathering, whether it is a formal presentation or a casual comment one person does on to the other person. Feedback is very much important, because for the sender of information to know what has been understood by his or her receiver is very important. Whether the intended message has been understood, comprehended by the receiver or not is very important. If there is lapse in it, there is a space for the sender to change his way of doing that through feedback. So feedback is very important in communication process. It is a fundamental aspect of communication, and it plays a crucial role in building relationships. If you are listening well, or listening attentively or actively, then it plays a pivotal role in a crucial role in building relationships, personal as well as professional relationship into the business arena, because it can, I mean, uh, it can stop lot of misunderstandings to happen. It can save lot of errors to happen, and it also can be used as resolving conflicts and facilitating mutual understanding if the communication is par at excellence. Listening goes beyond the mere reception of sound. It encompasses the cognitive and emotional processes as well involved in interpreting and responding to the spoken information. What happens here? The speaker is speaking, the receiver is receiving the information, and it goes just beyond that reception of the sound. It has to have, I always give this example of this four walls of the room accompanied by the roof of that room. LSRW are the four walls of communication. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing are the four walls of communication, and it is accompanied by the room is incomplete without the roof. It cannot be called as a room. Hence wise, in every aspect of the LSRW, cognitive skills or the thinking skills are very important. When you are speaking, you need to think accompanied by what you are listening. If you do not use your cognitive abilities or emotional processes, then while you are interpreting the message, then it might not be understood to you. Actually, what is the understanding? You are taking in these stimuli, you are trying to understand the things through your thinking capabilities. If you are doing listening without thinking, then you are not serving the purpose, isn't it? The same wise, without thinking, if you speak, you might end up speaking the wrong statement like that. So in all aspects of LSRW, cognitive skills or thinking skills are very much important. When you are reading without thinking, it's of no use. You have to put your put your cognitive skills, your thinking skills for use, then only while writing, while speaking, while reading, and while listening. So it is a complete concept of the room accompanied by the roof as such. So, good listening can help you build and maintain positive relationships in the workplace. So, if you are a good listener, it will avoid lot of errors. You can save yourself from committing a lot of errors, and you can build or maintain a positive relationship with your workers, and your self-esteem will boost if there are no errors in your communication. And if you are listening effectively, you will gain reliability from people around you, from your higher officials, your subordinates, and your co-workers. Showing interest when communicating with others will help you build trust and develop long-term mutual beneficial professional relationships. This was also this will also benefit you in your long-term success in that particular organization, or creating a goodwill among your known people, known circles. So good listening can help you prevent misunderstandings, as I told you, between co-workers, because there will be a lot of difference of opinion between the people who are working together. When they rub shoulders with each other, and there are thoughts put to use, then you might see lot of difference of opinion between people. So you perform your duties accurately and anticipate the needs of your customer. So if you are a good listener, you can avoid a lot of misunderstandings which might erupt in between co-workers and your colleagues, your higher officials and your subordinates as well. So, listening intently can help you accurately follow directions. If you are focused as to what is being told, and you are not missing out on anything because of the physiological barriers that might occur, if you are trying to put aside those barriers, and your ability to listen is accurate, then by following the directions you may be able to improve your performance in the workplace. And just now, as I explained to you, if there are no errors, the production can be fast, and if there are no errors, the lot of resources can be saved. By listening closely to directions and guidings and requirements, you may be able to avoid errors and improve your processes. Effective listening is an important way to help you learn new skills. If you are listening effectively to what is being told, your instructions are being taken, then it will be easy for you to learn any new skill. It goes beyond hearing. I told you there is a difference between, there is a lot of difference actually between hearing and listening. Hearing, listening goes beyond hearing, as it say. It involves active engagement with the speaker. While hearing, you are not focused, you are not paying attention to what is being told. It could be any random sound that falls into your ear, but listening is focused. Okay, you are paying attention to it, you are intending to listen to what is being told. So active listening means focusing on the speaker's word, tone, and also body language. There is something in between the lines that also has to be understood. So certain things that are not being told, also things unspoken, has also to be understood. Like when you are speaking to a friend over the phone, and there is that happy tone that he or she is speaking, you understand that on the other side of the telephone, there is somebody who is is speaking is happy. So you need to even understand, focus on the tone. It is said that how you say something is more important than what you say. And about your non-verbal communication, in other words, it is called as the body language. It speaks a lot about how your posture is, how your facial expressions are, what do they signify, the movement of the hands, movement of the face, the complete body, and the movement of the lips. In another video on body language, I have spoken all about this in complete detail. Information I have given in that video. So you can go to body language and non-verbal communication. And then effective listening is about understanding the message, not just hearing the words. It requires interpreting the speaker's intent and also the context. It is not just you are just focusing your attention, sitting attentively and being relaxed, and also maintaining eye contact with the speaker is not enough. When you are listening effectively, you need to understand the message, the words that are spoken and the words that are not spoken as well, the intent behind that, why they have been said, and the context. What is the context? What is the background? Or what is the message that they want to share with you? So what do they do? Effective listeners avoid making assumptions and jumping to conclusions. The listeners who are very focused on listening, they don't assume anything. If you assume something, you might not understand the context, what the speaker is trying to say. So you need to listen attentively. Effective listener is the one avoids making assumptions, and he doesn't jump into conclusions. uh, One seeks clarification when needed to ensure accurate understanding. So they will know what to speak, what to understand, how to come to conclusions later on, not just jump into conclusions. Because if they do not listen attentively, they might doubt what the speaker is saying, then there won't be any clarification done. So to understand accurately and properly, they need to seek clarification. There are so many types of listeners that we are going to learn about. Yeah, we have active listeners. Who are active listeners? An active listener is an individual who fully engages in the process of listening with the intention of understanding the speaker's message. What is the intent? The intent is to understand. They are focused. Who are they? The active listener. He is or she is fully engaged in the process of listening with the intention of understanding the speaker's message. Active listening goes beyond the passive act of hearing. It involves a dynamic and participatory approach to communication. As I told you in the earlier video also, communication is a dynamic process. It keeps on changing, and it involves a dynamic and participatory approach to communication. But people think that listening is a passive activity. No, it is an active activity, and passive activity is hearing. This by chance or by uh, approach, they might not intended to fall into your ear. It is not focused. That is what is hearing. Maintaining eye contact to convey interest and focus. What do they do? The active listener is the one who focuses, maintains eye contact with the speaker, that they are interested and they are focused into what is being told. Nods in agreement to sign to signal understanding or encouragement. What does the active listener do? They nod. They frequent do this nodding to convey that they are interested in the message. And as a listener, they have to just keep a smiling face so that it shows that they are interested towards the what is the message being told. Nods in agreement to signal understanding and encouragement simultaneously. When they are understanding, they even encourage the speaker that what is being told is being understood by them. Ask open-ended question to seek clarification or more information. What do? They have to wait for the speaker to ask for clarifying questions. The active listener does not jump into conclusion, as I told you before, and they won't interrupt the speaker when they are speaking. They wait for the speaker to ask for clarifying questions at this point of time. And then an active speaker paraphrases or summarizes what the speaker said to confirm the understanding, whether the information has been decoded or encoded effectively will be understood when they give feedback, whether the sender has was successful in reaching out to the listener, that what information they wanted was properly shared or not. Okay. Active listeners approach the conversation with an open mind. It is very important. First of all, people sometimes are not at all, not sometimes, most of the time are not interested to listen. They want to have information, but they do not want to listen. This is the drawback in most of the people, because they have not learned this skill. They thought that it is an active process and it doesn't need to be learned. That's misunderstanding, or the myth has made them do this act in a wrong manner. Active listening, listeners approach the conversation with an open mind. What do? They want to listen, avoiding premature judgment or assumption. Sometimes people say, okay, that is that person is not so highly qualified as I am, so why should I listen to that? Could be one of the reasons. Or a person coming from a different community, or coming from a different culture, from speaking a different language or something. So this kind of close-mindedness also, plays havoc in the process of listening. But this active listener doesn't do this. The active listener keeps his mind open to grasp the information. He or she is like a sponge. How the sponge absorbs the water, the person is like that. The active listener is one who absorbs the information with an open mind. And they minimize distractions and give the speaker then undivided attention. If we want to become active listener, what we have to do, we have to minimize our distractions that are outside or within the room as well. And they also give the speaker their undivided attention, by fubbing, by giving more importance to your mobile phone, or talking to other people, or focusing your direction, or focusing your mind towards something else, or having division of attention, or by being having some kind of barriers. We should not maximize our distractions. As an active listener, we need to minimize our distractions and give importance to the attention, give important and undivided attention to the speaker, by giving respect to them for the speaker's time and message. The speaker has intended to send some message. He or she has come with some important message to share with you, so we have to respect that one. How can we respect? By giving undivided attention, and avoiding minimizing distractions, and uh, avoiding premature judgment. Active listeners ask thoughtful and relevant questions. They won't ask unnecessary questions to make the speaker uncomfortable, or stop their communication. To gain a deeper understanding of the speaker's thoughts and feelings, they ask thoughtful and relevant questions. They take feedback, and they give feedback by asking questions, or clarifying, or discussing the things, or just nodding their head in confirmation that they are understanding the message. Then the second category is of the passive listener. A passive listener is one who receives information without actively engaging in the communication process. What do? They are just sitting idle. They mostly focus on the hearing part of the message rather than the listening part. This style of listening is categorized by a more reserved and less participatory approach. Passive listeners absorb information without providing much feedback or interaction. They they are shy sometimes, or they are reluctant to share their thoughts and ideas, or they are sitting with a closed mind. That's why they are passive listeners. Uh, this can be, a same person can have all of this together, or if the person has trained himself or herself, then they become one. If the person is not at all interested in that talk, or in that course that they have taken, then they might become this passive listener. This type of listener they might become. So they have the characteristics of this passive listener is that they use limited use of verbal and non-verbal cues. They don't ask questions, or they do not pay attention. They don't face the speaker, and they are not relaxed. They are not attentive. They appears sometimes they appear relaxed and may not make much eye contact. The second category of that is that they may sometimes appear relaxed, or they may that relaxed feeling or showcasing could be not being interested into what is being told, and they won't maintain eye contact, maybe due to different types of reasons. It's not one. Listens quietly without actively participating in the conversation. This type of limited knowledge people usually are passive listeners, because they are wandering, their thoughts are wandering from one place to another. They cannot fix their interest into one place. They are not maintaining eye contact, and they are not relaxed and attentive. They might sometimes look relaxed and uninterested. Passive listeners typically have a more reserved or subdued demeanor. They may not display as much enthusiasm or expressiveness compared to more active listeners. These people are a bit shy, or they are reserved, and they have a subdued demeanor. They are not so happy, they are not so enthusiastic about expressing their own feelings like the active listeners do. Passive listeners might take longer to respond to statements or questions, and when they do respond, their contributions may be brief and to the point. Here, since they have been passive, they have not been active in that. Actually, listening sometimes is misunderstood as a passive activity, but it is not. It is an active activity. So they are not responding to the statements, or sometimes they do not have questions to ask, or they do not respond sometimes, and they contribute less to the point. Passive listeners may be prone to distractions, either internal, like daydreaming, or external, checking their phone, or which can hinder their full engagement in the conversation. So it is not advised. Just as I told you that fubbing is one of the reasons why people are giving more importance to their mobile phones rather than to the person who is sharing them the message. Then there is this selective listener. Another type is that it is or she is an individual who focuses on specific parts of a conversation while ignoring or filtering out other information. This selective listening, it is also called as, in other words, selective listening. This type of listener listens to the only information that they are interested. They do not want the whole of it. This listening style involves choosing to pay attention to certain elements of the message while disregarding or downplaying others' reactions. Their characteristic is selective listening. Listeners, they concentrate on particular topic or aspects of the conversation that align with their interest or priorities. Due to their focus on the specific aspects, selective listeners may overlook or dismiss details that are not deemed important to them. So, respond only to certain topics or keywords. May miss important details or context by not paying attention to the entire message. This gives them half knowledge, and they are not well versed. Because of the half knowledge that they are having, they become doubtful, and when they are asked to speak, or when they are asked to give feedback, they might report all the things which were not actually there. So, because they concentrate on specific elements only, selective listening is happening, which will make them struggle to grasp the full picture of and to understand the broader context of the conversation. There is a tendency for selective listeners to have a limited attention span, particularly when the content does not align with their current concerns or interests. What is happening here? Uh, because they are listening selectively, they have limited attention span, or it could be vice versa. Because they have limited attention span, they are not listening attentively. This goes hand in hand. If the person is not focused, not interested, and then does not want to listen attentively, then the division of attention happens. Attention span is less, because of being interested in several other things simultaneously. uh, and when their content doesn't align with their current concerns or interest, if they are interested into something, their time of listening is their time of watching TV or something, and the information they have a uh, webinar or something, they have to listen to it, and on the same time there is a TV program playing in that time. So there is this division, and the time is not aligned with their current concerns or interest. Then we have this empathetic listener. Empathetic listener aims to understand and share the feelings of the speaker. He or she expresses empathy through verbal cues. I understand, that must be difficult. This kind of statements they say. When they say these things, we understand that they are empathizing with you. These are the empathetic listeners. They put themselves in the shoes of the speaker and try to understand what is being told. This uses non-verbal cues such as facial expressions and body language to understand, to convey understanding. What do? They either show their emotions on the face, and their body language is like, sometimes they droop, they bend down towards the speaker and try to empathize with them. Then an empathetic listener pays close attention to the speaker's emotions, seeking to understand, connect with the feelings being expressed. These are sometimes, this category of people are the people who are philanthropists or compassionate people who are empathetic. They just go into the person's frame and then try to think and express the feelings in the same manner as the person who is speaking. They acknowledge and validate the emotions of the speaker, demonstrating that their feelings are heard and accepted. Then we have the critical listeners. A critical listener is an individual who engages with information in a thoughtful and evaluative manner. Critical listening involves analyzing, assessing, and interpreting the content of the message. This type is also a good type, but sometimes when a person becomes too critical, they analyze the information presented by evaluating its credibility and validity. They sometimes doubt the credibility and validity of the message at the earlier stage. Yes, it is required. When you are a listener, you are required to analyze the credibility and validity of the message, but not at the earlier stage to misinterpret it. So they seek probing questions to gather more information, seek clarification, and deepen their understanding of the topic being discussed. In the due course, they might misdirect, or they might offer some words to the speaker, which is not a good way of listening. And critical listeners approach information with a discerning and analytical mindset. They strive to understand the underlying meaning and context of the message. It seeks evidence or reasoning behind the statement, may challenge or question the speaker's perspective to ensure a thorough understanding. Then critical listening requires active engagement with the material. Listeners may take notes, mentally organize information, and actively process the content as it is presented. They might even compare the information presented in their existing knowledge or with other sources to identify inconsistencies, contradictions, or gaps in the argument. Critical listeners assess the logical coherence of the message. They look for sound reasoning and the presence of logical fallacies. Here, uh, they won't satisfy with something that is offered to them superficially. Critical listeners may provide constructive feedback based on their analysis. Then this feedback can contribute to the improvement of the ideas or refinement of the organization. And sometimes this type of listeners play a positive role in the feedback that is being given on behalf all the people, all the listeners to the speaker, so that the next time that they prepare any presentation, they will keep up these points in their mind and improve themselves. Sympathetic listeners. A sympathetic listener is someone who listens with compassion, understanding, and a genuine concern for the feelings and experience of the speaker. This listening style is characterized by empathy and a desire to offer emotional support. Sympathetic listeners show compassion and concern for the speaker's situation. What are their characteristics? They offer comfort and understanding, express concerns through both verbal and non-verbal means. Like a person may even become emotional or become sad with the sad expression of the speaker, or even if the listener is not in a happy mode, the person might become happy when he or she listens to the speaker in a happy mode. They offer, that's how they offer comfort and understanding, express concern through both verbal and non-verbal communication, provides emotional support without necessarily analyzing or critiquing the information. Sympathetic listeners are attuned to the emotions expressed by the speaker. They actively try to understand the speaker's feelings and experiences. Sympathetic listeners often use non-verbal cues such as a comforting touch, nodding, or facial expression to convey understanding and support. They respond in reflective statements that acknowledge the speaker's emotion, saying, I can see that this is really difficult for you, or it sounds like you're going through a tough time, like that. Pseudo listeners. These listeners appear to be engaged, are not genuinely focused on the conversation. He or she nods and says, without true comprehension. Easily distracted, may seem preoccupied with other thoughts or these other activities. They give the appearance of listening without actively processing the information. Then the interruptive listener. This frequently interjects and into the conversation, or often expresses their own thoughts or opinions. This type of listeners we find a lot in our daily life. They want to offer words. They want to, offer words and our disrupt our train of thought. By doing this, they might break our thought process, and then that conversation might lead to something else. Tends to finish the speaker's sentence and interrupts to share personal experiences or perspectives. They are not mainly focusing on what the speaker is trying to say, but then more focus is on their own personal experiences and perspectives. Many unintentionally dominate the conversation. This also is then informational listener. Focuses on gathering and maintaining factual information from the conversation, takes notes to this characterized by they take notes to capture key details and important points, seeks clarity on facts and figures, and values accuracy and completeness in the communication process. Then we have the judgmental listeners. Judgmental listeners form opinions or judgment quickly during a conversation. They do not wait for the conversation to finish. Before that, in the middle itself or in the beginning itself, they make opinions and judgments about the people. Their characteristics are maybe quick to disagree or criticize without fully understanding the speaker's perspective. They want to poke their nose everywhere. Tends to evaluate statements based on personal beliefs and biases. They do not want to listen to others, so that if they find any logical reasoning in that, they might change. They are afraid of changing their own perspective. That's why this type of judgmental listeners do not want to listen to others people's perspectives, or they are biased about their personal beliefs and biases. May have challenging time remaining open-minded during the conversation. They cannot focus or wait till the speaker stops. They want to have they say their last word. So this have been taken from teaching foreign language skills and University of Chicago and Press. With this, we come to an end of the session on different types of listeners. I, Waheeda, sign off.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.